Show Up, Stand Out, Conversations with Mary-Lucille.
So where does the nerdy thing come in? I don't see you as nerdy.
Yeah, I know. Well, I had a lot of freckles and I was really geeky, and I was one of those kids. You know, you look at kids these days and they're just funky and cool, and they just got these good hairstyles and they wear these cool clothes. I was none of that. I didn't care. I just wore t-shirts and whatever, and I had embarrassing hair, and I was just one of those kids in like a bad 70s movies that just was happy playing in the dirt, did not even look in the mirror. Look, kids these days, they have these haircuts that I wonder how long they spend in the mirror every morning. And I think to me, and I was like, okay, I'm off. It's just a different breed, you know.
We're having a conversation with Ashe Ferriman, and I'm just asking him about when did he realise that he was different to everyone else?
I would track that back to my early primary school, when I would always observe other kids. I would sort of be that kid who stands under a tree and watches other kids run around and jump and do what they do. In that observation, I would always sort of notice this place in myself where I couldn't define myself by any one way of being. I would always just want to climb a tree, but I'd also want to talk to a girl, but I'd also want to hang out with boys, and I would want to just be this everything sort of chameleon. I was a bit like, you know, a gas cloud. And
how did that affect you when you got to high school?
Probably at primary school I had less judgment of it, and I was okay with it. I was okay with the difference. So when I changed schools and went to year 6, 7, I had a lot of trouble. I found it very hard to make friends, and when I did make a friend, I was a little needy because they were like my saviour. And so I came across maybe as a kid that needed too much and was a bit insecure. I was just judging me as just this weirdo who didn't fit and who just couldn't find ease with himself. I was in that teenage sort of adolescent period where everything was hard, and there was no holiday from it. It was just turned on all the time. Secondary school was just agony, and it was waking up and not wanting to interact, and not wanting to go to school, not wanting to talk to my parents, and not liking my sister, and all those things that make life difficult.
So then how did that carry on through to the workforce?
Work was where I found myself. Work was where I cultivated my character and started to trust my abilities and started to know the scope of what I could do, what I could be. And that was hands-on. That was where I flourished, really. And then when I started actually producing things, creating things, working with my hands, having to think, being thrown in the deep end constantly, I found stability in myself that was comfortable and was valued to me. And I wasn't always doubting me. I was, here I am and this is what I can do. Really, work was the best thing for me.
So Ash, you've always been creative. Before you had the mind confetti, you were a locksmith. Can you tell us a bit about how that evolved?
The locksmith potential came when I was getting bored, doing a lot of things, but it wasn't filling me up. I needed to keep aspiring, and I needed to keep testing myself and knowing what I could do. And I was in a business that was offering me that, but it was still not enough. And I was going to leave. I was offered a locksmith apprenticeship to keep me, basically. That taught me the world of engineering on a small scale, and the intricacies and that feather finger touch. Locksmithing and safe cracking and car opening and electronics. It was a whole new world, and it was great. And it built a foundation for me to, again, advance my skills and get to know that place in myself that was just never ending. And then I traversed into electronics, and I found electronics I loved even more, because with electronics you can do anything. It's the infinite playground that I love, and then that developed into starting my own business called Ramguard Bollards. Product was an automatic bollard, but it's a 12-volt electric product and it could work on solar panels. So I wanted to develop something that a farmer could just go put out in his paddock and not even think about. And so that was the basis of the idea, and I always reflect on that with great joy, because it taught me just this unshakable confidence in my skills. Manifest something from zero to fruition, and that's immensely rewarding.
So we met at an Access Consciousness class. What was it that drew you to that?
I got drawn to looking at alternative means, spirituality, which was, what else is there? I had life plotted out. I had a family early, I had a committed girlfriend early, I bought a house early, I wanted to retire when I was 40, and I had everything, all my ducks in a line to get to that. I kind of lost that trajectory and I lost my happiness. When I left that relationship, I was in a fierce judgment of myself for leaving a young family and a woman. And I was looking for something to ease that, to get me back to me and to nurture me. My mum had a Conscious Living magazine, and I was flicking through that, and I saw this ad. It was a full-page ad for Access Consciousness. And it was a very practical approach. I've never really assimilated too much with the airy-fairy stuff. And of all the other stuff I read about, none of it really just struck me in a way that felt that it was going to get me where I wanted to go.
How did it change how you saw yourself?
What that gave me was a belief in the magic and a belief in the unseen and the intangible. And when I would sit on my bed as a kid and talk to spirits all the time, I'd sit there and I'd be like this, like watching all these spirits and talking to them openly. It reminds me of that. It reminds me when I was a boy and I was that open and that willing and had so little judgment that all that existed and it could all be there and it was okay. Access took me back to that, and then it gave me the tools to take it into life and to be that, and to be the courage to be that, and to not dampen that or cut that off because the world doesn't like it or the world doesn't want to see it. It's like you be that and you change things, and that's what I wanted. And 2 days ago when I was hanging out with a woman I've just met, and we were playfully interacting, and she said, "When you look at me like that, you're like a 4-year-old boy, and it's the most beautiful thing." And I knew exactly what she was talking about, and exactly the look, and it's like an expression of joy that is not adulterated, and it is like, just go there.
So it's not being childish, it's being childlike.
Yeah, but still having that responsibility, still being in that adulthood of knowing what you're creating and who you're affecting, and putting the adult and the child together. And you're less in judgment of you, and every time I do it and I just act like this crazy person, I'm like, you know what, that's so much easier than it used to be.
When I met you a couple of years later, I think you were creating a business, and really cool names like Mind Confetti and Cheeky Consciousness.
Cheeky Consciousness was born when I was finding that energy I was just talking about. The playful child coupled with the adult that knows how to navigate the ship. Well, what I was looking for was like a satirical expression of consciousness. Not this big, flowery, lovely quote that we get all the time. I was looking for just a nice little package of words that would resonate with that place, that child, and I knew that there was nothing around like that. When I started that, I just got this flood of ideas, and they were everything from I came to this planet to play. When you're out of your mind, everything works. You just spread the awesomeness. I lost my mind a while ago, and I never went back to get it, and I've been happy ever since. So it's Cheeky Consciousness is a reminder of that, and it's in the form of stickers and badges. And we did t-shirts, but at the moment I relabeled it and it's called Mind Confetti because I wanted to be able to take it beyond consciousness in a way that it didn't have to be all about spirituality, it could just be about life stuff.
So you went to Byron Bay?
I sold Ramguard before I went to the Eastern States, and I took a motorbike trip around Australia. And as I did that, I met a woman. She happened to live in Byron Bay. She's like, come and visit. So I meandered my way down and around, went around Tasmania, came up to Byron, and I was ready for a change. Although I had 2 kids here and my whole family's here, My children were at the time sort of 15 and 16. So I proposed it to them, are you going to be okay if I move away and you come and visit me occasionally, I come and visit you? And they were. All the green lights to get me to this whole new lifestyle. So I sold the business and I moved there. It's, as I say, it's the beach lifestyle, it's a holiday lifestyle. It's driven by fun and celebration and life and colour and spiritual pursuits and you're furthering your journey. It's not so much about work and buy a house and build a family. It was immensely difficult at the start. I was like, what do you people do? You know, how can you sit on the beach all day? My girlfriend's biggest dilemma was, do I go and have chai with a friend this morning or do I go to the beach? And I'm thinking, what? Oh my gosh. And she had lived like that for 20 years, and yet she still was always in this trauma and drama, and it was just so absurd to me. It literally took me a year to adjust to the people and just this casual sort of looping way they go through life and just have fun. And it brought out that little boy I spoke about earlier. It gave him permission to, like, you want a playground? This is your playground. Celebrations of life, everything from dancing to yoga to spiritual classes to music festivals to parties to whatever you want. It's there and it's on tap. I've been there for 3 years, and after that I had a year off basically, and after that year I was getting edgy again. I was like, I had this tick that I had to create. I can't turn that off, so started doing the stickers and that creative outlet again. It was Cheeky Consciousness at the time, but I relabeled it to Mind Confetti, and I also started a business called Dash Multi-Service, where I get to do the hands-on stuff and I get to build things and fix things, and I found it flourished very easily. There's a lot of people in Byron, but not a lot of people want to work. I love working. And I love creating and I love helping people and I love making their life easier and better with the skills that I have.
Sometimes you would just go out to the bush and just be with the land. Were you doing that on your trip when you went via Tasmania as well?
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
I long for that. My well was driven dry basically by this business that was demanding of me all the time. I needed to connect with a deeper energy. And like I researched the top 10 fears that people suffer from in the world. And so I created my own list and I systematically went through that list. I did not want to be edited in any way by fear. And camping in the middle of nowhere by myself it brought up some fear in me. So I took this trip to Shark Bay and I camped by myself. The funny thing that happens there is, like, when you step out of fear like that and you step into this trust and this vulnerability, there's great rewards there. I always find the universe rewards you immensely for that. When I was there, just naked in the darkness, exposing myself to all this danger. But when you make friends with that, I found that spirit was everywhere, and I found everything spoke, and I found I could hear it and I could listen and I could dialogue with it. That was at the point I started Cheeky Consciousness. I started getting all those messages for stickers and badges and t-shirts. So I long to go camping and I always prefer to go by myself. So when I want to connect to spirit, I don't build a fire. I just sit on the land and I just open my body and myself and just welcoming that consciousness. Especially in the desert. The desert is the most potent place for me personally that I find connection is like that. There's Aboriginal warriors that come and sit with you, that they want to tell you stories. There's whole tribes that want to tell you of a hardship they might have faced. The mountains sing, I get these replays of those traditional Aboriginal stories that are in kids' books, like with massive dogs and serpents and giant men with beards and spears, and it's like I see all that out there, and it's actually all true, and it's actually this was that dreamscape back before the Europeans came.
You're making a difference in the world by stepping up as to who you truly are.
It's nice to step out of the regular setups we have for changing the world. That we're taught that we have to create a magical business that it's all across or countries, or be that keynote speaker that everyone's hanging out to see. It's nice to sort of give yourself that license to just do it in your own special way, your own unique way, and to also acknowledge it when you sort of have that courage to show up as yourself and not cut those parts of yourself off to fit into someone else's reality, and to not have to buy into those common limitations. You do change things when you're not judging you. That's very powerful. Like, I did a class in laugh yoga. Gosh, that was fun.
Yeah.
That's probably more my style. When you see people in their joy space where all their inhibitions are gone and all that crustiness has dropped away, and there you just have this light being just totally showing up. And so when I did laugh yoga, it was kind of like that. It's like these little techniques to just get people in their silly space.
You joined a men's group. Can you tell us a bit about that as well?
I've always had a aversion to men because they haven't shown me the sensitivity, softness that women have. Predominantly hang around with women. I've always had women friends, and so getting into men's work was a challenge to myself. It was on that list. So I did an 8-week course with 10 men, and you go through this emotional landscape. You form quite a mateship, and you have a trust and a recognition between you. And I've trusted men again. I found a place of actually trusting men, trusting that masculine in myself, and knowing that there's also men out there who are asking for more than just the archetype of the male. I've met men who are kind and gentle like myself, but they can throw rocks around as well, They can be a bit rough and tough. And now I sort of welcome men in my life, and I have some good friends, and it feels a lot better.
So where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
Topped up and refreshed and reconnected with some friends. Find that place I had with Ramguard, allowance and no judgment. I don't forecast too far ahead. I just know there's a lot of travel, a lot of fun, and 2 businesses. That's enough for me at the moment.
Thanks, Ash.
All good?
Yep, all good.
Conversation with Ashe Ferriman, brought to you by Sharp Stand Up, Mary-Lucille Baker.